All right. Well, hopefully you're back with us now. Sorry we're having some technical difficulties. And we're figuring this out just as much as everybody else. So I think when we cut off, I was talking about some of the materials we were going to need for this activity. We've got our tray here to hold our soil sample, a spoon to kind of poke and prod around so our hands don't get quite so dirty, and a magnifying lens to give us a little bit closer of a look at what's in our soil sample. So we're just going to kind of start poking and prodding around and see what we can find. You don't need any sort of guide, but we are going to make our What's in Your Compost sheet available. Now you can find that on our Facebook page. And so that's just a nice little guide to show you what you might find in your soil. Of course, it's not exhaustive. There's going to be a lot of different stuff in there. So some of the first things I notice is that it doesn't just look like dirt, that you might see right on the surface. When you dig down, you start to notice a lot of that other stuff. You can see here we've got some leaf chunks. We've got this nice big stick, a rock here, what looks to be some sort of old tree nut, maybe a walnut or a black walnut, hard to say exactly, or, you know what I bet? I was wrong. I bet that is an avocado seed, is what I'm going to guess. It's funny, the avocado flesh decomposes really quickly, but other stuff, like the peel, takes ages. You can see we've got lots of little bits of straw and hay in here. That's because, like I said at the beginning, this is from our compost pile. So that's going to be food scraps, old plants, and some horse bedding that all slowly turns into dirt over time. You can also see one of our big ingredients we get a lot of are eggshells, little bits of eggshells in there. You can see a little bit of gritty things. A lot of that is sand that makes its way into it, which is really good because it helps improve drainage. Let's dig a little deeper and see what else we can find. I'm going to turn this big old clod over. Ooh, looky there. Got a nice red wiggler worm. These worms can be really popular in fishing, but more often they're used in compost. They're not quite big enough for a lot of fish. We can keep digging through, see what else we find. Oh, there's another little crawly. See if I can gently tease this little guy out. There we have a scared roly-poly, all rolled up. This one right here. We'll just put him back so he's not too scared. Cover him up a little bit. This is a really interesting one over here in the corner. I don't know if anybody knows what this is. That is an old bone. Bone sticks around in the compost longer than a lot of stuff because there's so much calcium. It's so much, just a lot harder than a lot of the other stuff that goes in. We got this nice little bone piece. And then, of course, it is what we put in our garden beds to grow our food. So there's a lot of other stuff that grows on there as well, like this weed right here. And you might recognize this weed. I bet you've probably got some of that somewhere in your yard too. This is either hensbit or dead nettle. I always get them mixed up, so it's going to be one of those two. You can see we've got a lot of those roots where that was growing. And you see how this is all kind of sticking together when I move it? The whole thing moves. That's just a little example of how the roots of our plants can help hold our soil together, which will help against erosion when it gets windy or rainy. Whereas over here, we've got some soil that does not have roots, and it's just very loose. And that soil is going to be much more likely to wash away in the wind or the rain. So let's dig a little bit more and see if we can't find some more stuff. Oh, here we've got what looks to be some sort of old pumpkin or squash seed. And a lot of times, these will actually sprout inside of your compost pile. And you'll get all sorts of crazy squash growing all the way through it. We've got a little wood chip in there, maybe from an old tree branch. That's the stem of a leaf right here, even though, oh, yep, there it is, attached right there. More eggshells, more straw. Ooh. Here's something. This one's going to be real hard to see, but right there at the tip of this, you know what? I'm actually having a little trouble seeing that. I'm going to use my magnifying lens here to get a closer look. Okay, so I thought when I first picked it up that was a worm egg sac. It looks like it's actually just a really tiny roly-poly. So let's do a little bit of digging to see if we can't find a worm egg sac. Now they're going to look similar to this roly-poly we just saw. They're sort of a pale yellow color. And they're mostly round, leaning towards a little bit oval. And what those are is the part of the worm that separates from the worm's body where the eggs grow. Now, it's pretty chilly out this morning, and a lot of times that means that these critters can kind of hunker down and dig a little deeper to hide from the cold. Let's look inside. Oh, I think I got one here. Just a little bit more straw. A lot of worms in here. Way more than I was expecting, as cold as it is. Oh, there's a little millipede down here. You can see him, he's hunkered up right there. All curled up. Millipede. I think that's a millipede. Oh, look, there's another one, even smaller, curling right there. It's really amazing just how much you can find in one little spoonful. And the longer you look, the more you start to see. Put those guys back, because I saw something else over here in the corner. I'm not sure what this one is. It might be another millipede, but it looks to have a little bit different coloration. Yeah, let's get right here. Looks maybe like a little millipede, maybe a little grub. Hard to say. A lot of different microbes and invertebrates in this soil. All right, friends. Well, we may not find our worm egg sac today, but that's okay, because I promise you this dirt is not going anywhere. It's still going to be around, and especially as the weather gets warmer and warmer outside, we're going to be seeing more and more stuff. Oh, but there's one more thing we can look at right here. There's this stringy chunk right here that's kind of a white colored. That is going to be some sort of fungus. Now, I have no idea what kind of fungus, but that is a really important decomposer that turns all of these old plant materials like leaves and the sticks and weeds into this sort of nice, crumbly, finished compost over here. So that doesn't just happen by itself. It happens with the help of our friends like the worms here. Some of those millipedes that we saw earlier, those roly-polies, the fungus, and even more important are the millions and billions of microscopic organisms that we can't even see with our eyes. But we know they're there. We know they're doing the important work of transforming those food scraps, those old plants, into this life-giving compost. We're going to be able to add this stuff back to our garden beds, and we're going to be able to grow even more delicious food for people in our community. Well, thanks for tuning in today, everybody. I think that's about all we've got. Tune back in. We're going to have a fun, kid-friendly recipe this evening, I think at 4 o'clock. And then tomorrow, we'll have a fun science experiment for you. We'll see you soon.